I'd like to welcome back and give a warm reception to Mr. Mark Frasco. Welcome.
Can everybody hear me? Yeah. They're coming over? Better? Can you hear me? Which one is the main? So I am between you guys and a boat and a beer.
Not necessarily. No pressure.
What's that old joke? I feel a little bit like a corpse in an Irish wake. You need me for the party, but you don't expect me to say much. It looks really bad. Yeah, it's really bad. They always say you should start with a joke unless you don't know how to tell jokes. Anyway. Well, thank you guys again for having me. It was a lot of fun to be with you last year, and as Dan indicated, we are going to have some new material. There'll be some review also. I understand that in most cases, I've been doing this now for several years. People, if they're really good and the speaker is really good, you'll retain about 10% of what that speaker says. So that means out of this 2 hours, what is that? 10% of that. So it's going to be about 12 minutes worth of material that you'll remember. Maybe because you're really smart and I'm better than most, you'll retain 20 minutes. But Moneyball sales. I'm in a baseball mood. We got the baseball playoffs coming. And
Yanks.
yeah, it's what I was afraid of. That's exactly what I was afraid of. I want to see this one. Where's the speaker? How many of you remember this? I'm a Dodger fan. Sorry about that. Yeah, so I grew up in Southern California. I was born in 1959, and the Dodgers have played the Yankees. I know we had one more game to win, and they have one more to win, but the Dodgers have played the Yankees 11 times in the World Series. The Dodgers have only won 3 times. Hopefully, we get to number 12, we'll go to 4. But so I kind of went after Moneyball. I don't know if you guys, have any of you read this book, Moneyball?
Yes. Outstanding.
Pretty great book. I mean, if you like baseball, or if you like, I really think if you like anything about measurement stats, the way to look at things, Moneyball's a great book. Michael Lewis. If you don't know the book, many of you, especially the ladies in the room, probably know the movie, because Brad Pitt starred in it 4, 5, 6 years ago. And basically, this book is a new way of looking at baseball stats. For years and years and years, for 100+ years, you looked at baseball, you looked at batting average, you looked at ERAs, and that's how you evaluated players, and that's how you evaluated success. And that's been going on for a long time. In Moneyball, and what happened with the Oakland A's actually, about 15, 20 years ago, Billy Beane started looking at baseball stats a little bit differently. Some of you maybe heard of sabermetrics. And they're starting to look at things like slugging percentage and on-base percentage and walks and stolen bases, and they're looking at a whole array of evaluating how baseball players play and how successful they've been. So I thought it'd be kind of fun. We're not going to talk about stats all day long today, about sales, but I just thought it'd be fun to do some analogies along with baseball and Moneyball, the way to look at the way you go to market, the way you think about your success in selling. So it's a bit of a review, but last year we spoke about this, and I'm going to repeat a couple pieces for you. You remember that, hopefully, that 10% that I spoke about last year. Business growth has a lot more to do with process than it does technique. You have to design a process inside your organization, how you make contact, organize contacts, stay in touch, and do all of that work. When we were taught sales years ago, we were taught mostly technique stuff. Opening questions, closing questions, etc. And it really wasn't that useful and isn't that useful, quite frankly. We're going to talk about a little bit different style towards the end of our session today. By the way, jot down questions, ask them anytime. There'll be some time at the end also. So what we've learned, my company, CoAct, we've been in business 15 years, and we help organizations grow. So people hire us to install business growth process. So what we've learned is really that you can take, if you take on this axis here, process and talent, you can take a person who's above average talent, salesperson. You know, we go out there, we interview, we're looking for people, or it's yourself. But the process is a bad process, the performance will be below average. On the other hand, you can take somebody who's average or just below average as far as their ability, their talent, put them in a really strong process, and they will excel. Of course, where we'd like to hang out is where the star is. We'd like to have a good process, and we'd like to have people who have some talent in solving problems and applying solutions. If you live down here where you're below average in a bad process, you're not usually employed very long. And the company's usually not successful long term. So let's dig in a little bit. We did not discuss this last year. I thought it might be useful, especially for those of you in your organizations that are beginning to think about what is our strategy in the market, what does this organization do, what are the solutions it provides, and how do we penetrate the market a little bit more cleanly, if you will, deeply. So let's talk about strategic architecture. So when you think about your business, when you think about the way you're designed, oftentimes we spend very little time thinking about what is the strategy, the structure, the process that we're going to use to grow our businesses. So you might develop a growth strategy, but you really don't have much clarity around who you are yet. Strategic architecture is not a strategy, it's a description of a business growth model. So when you think about your strategic architecture, I'm going to teach you a couple of things about how you can build an architecture for success, for successful growth. This is a framework that will allow you to, I guess, kind of lean on and think about, put it on the walls as you do your work day to day. I said I was bringing baseball into this, and those of you who hate baseball, I apologize, but if you love it, you like this. So Hank Williams was the last major league hitter to hit over 400 in 1941. He's probably thought of as the greatest pure hitter in the history of baseball. He wrote a book in 1971 called The Science of Hitting. And you can't hardly see it, it's off the screen a little bit, but in that box is a strike zone. And what he did, which was the first time anybody had ever done it, he had determined where he had the most success hitting the ball. So I like to think of strategy that way. So every one of us has a strike zone. Our businesses have a strike zone. And your strike zone is different than his strike zone, is different than her strike zone. You know, where you hit best. So what Ted Williams did was he learned over time, after all the hits and home runs that he had, where he had the most success. And he began calculating his batting average. You can't see it, but inside those colored circles was a batting average when he hit the ball in that spot. And the red ones are really hot spots for him. He hit over 400 in those spots, and the blue ones were really cold. He hit maybe 150, 170. So what are we talking about? What is your strike zone? What is your sweet spot? What's your hitting zone? And can we, by understanding that zone, can we improve our hit rate? Now I'm talking about closes, right? I'm talking about selling. So you know it intuitively in your head. There's oftentimes you're probably doing a proposal and you might be thinking, I'm not sure this is going to be a winner. You're probably not in your hitting zone. You're probably in a place that's that you don't often succeed in. So this concept, I'm hoping will keep in your head something about that hitting zone from Ted Williams, because your organizations, their strategic hitting zone is very similar. So what is strategic architecture? First, what do you sell? It sounds like a really simple question. So if you were a distributor for a compressor company, it would be easy to say, I sell compressors. But the answer to that question of what they sell is actually much more complex, so we're going to talk about that. How do you supply it? Again, sounds pretty simple. We get an order, somebody pays us, we send the stuff, or we install it. But how do you supply it is a very complex, I think it's a very complex process of how you supply, because every one of these questions is an ability for you to differentiate your model. Every one of these questions gives you some ability to differentiate you against the competition. How do you supply? How does your competition supply? What do you sell? What do they sell? Who buys it? What type of organization are you targeting? Who are the buyers or in the buying system? Who is it? And why do they buy from you? This is a conversation about value propositions, about why somebody would make a decision to invest in you, to take time to not only give you the money, but take time to help you through the solutions they need. So let's break this down real quick. Again, I'd like to emphasize that each of these questions allows you some ability to find that sweet spot. What do you sell? This is not an esoteric question. What I really want to know is, I want a description of what would actually appear on a purchase order. And it could be a product, it could be a service, a maintenance contract, repair. You do only design and build a whole system. Some people just ship product. Some people do it remotely. So what do you sell? I think it's really important for you and your team to understand that, know that, and have a standard for it. Some of you probably sell maintenance contracts. Some of you may not. And you're doing various things as far as product goes or solutions. Some are doing it on-site, some are doing it remotely. So what do you sell? So if we use that compressor example, we sell reciprocal compressors, 500 horsepower, replacement parts, repair, maintenance, and monitoring. Now every one of those, replacement parts, repair, maintenance, monitoring, and the type of compressor, gives you the ability to change your sweet spot, your hitting zone, against the competition, and also adjust to the market. So sometimes when you feel like maybe you're at a disadvantage, you need to be looking at that, what is it that I'm selling? And can I pivot? And we're going to talk about that later also. What kind of complexity are you offering to the market that makes you sticky? How do you supply it? You want to have clarity about the stages of the sale, the stages of the transaction, from meeting to collecting money. And I own 4 different companies. And I will tell you that I think in at least 2 of them, one of the biggest advantages I have is the commercial arrangement, the way I've commercially arranged my deals. Sometimes it's the way I've combined services against the market. So how do you supply it is really important. Do you offer terms? Do you offer leases? Is it one-time price? Is it a subscription? Is it the various things? Everyone should know what is next and where they fit in your organization, including the buying system. Everybody should know we're in this stage, what's the next stage, and the stage after that, in the process of how we supply what we supply. Again, major opportunities for differentiation depending on the stages that you use in your sales process. Know the economic engine of your organization. How do you make money? When I work with organizations, I like to know line by line, there's usually 5, 6 categories of what they sell. Products, maintenance contracts, software, whatever it might be. I like to know what percentage of their revenue is driven by each one of those. And then maybe the more important question, at least useful, is what is the percentage of margin, dollars, associated with each of those. Sometimes you have 80% of your sales in an area that is your lowest margin, right? So how do you think about that? How do you adjust that? What are you adding to make that margin go up? Really important questions. Understand your economic engine. This comes from Jim Collins, where he talks about understanding how you make money and where you can make more. How you can apply what you know, how you can make more. So we'll talk about this a little bit later, but sales funnels, process flow charts, descriptions, scoreboards, and transparency in your organization. This is how you supply what it is that you supply and measuring it. Who buys it? This is a relatively detailed description of the characteristics or traits of the ideal customer profile. So, I see a lot of it today. We'll talk about it a little bit later. I call it homogeneous marketing, where we're not really strategic. Email's really cheap. We all know how to use StreamSend and You know, so we get a list, we buy a list for $500 or $1,000 of 10,000 people, and we just start blowing stuff out into the market. It's not really strategic. You really don't know who you're hitting. I'm here to tell you, somebody who does this for a living for 15 years, it really doesn't work. You know, it really doesn't work. It's kind of a time waster. It's a little noisy. You get an order or two a year, so you think, ooh, that's really great. But there's a lot of effort that goes into that. So who buys? I want to know the type of organization, size, location, type of buyer. In many of your buying systems, it's sort of complex nowadays. You're usually talking with more than one buyer. Buying influence, if you will. You're speaking with 3 or 4 different people in an organization. So your ideal customer profile might be, in this compressor case, large manufacturing or assembly operations, bigger than $1 billion, multiple locations, this region of California, Arizona, Nevada, maintenance engineer, production engineer, plant manager types. What I like to do when I'm working with organizations, I like to put this whole strategic architecture on one page. I just like to get it on one page, and I like to have it. So that we all understand what is it we sell, how do we supply it, who buys it, why do they buy it from you guys. And then we begin to investigate that and make adjustments if we need to. So strategic architecture is a framework, again, that helps you to understand and describe your business and, I think more importantly, differentiate you in the market. Every one of those questions, once again, is an opportunity for you to differentiate the way you do things. What happens if you're not differentiating? Anybody want to be bold and take a guess? What happens if your organization is not differentiated, just selling what everybody else sells?
Price.
Price. 98% of the time. Left nothing else to talk about that's different than anybody else, you're going to talk about price all day long. Or to get the lowest price and get your order. So that's the importance of this. This whole session that I put together is really to make you think about how to combat that conversation of price. I almost never have the conversation about price. So strategic architecture, why do they buy it from you? This last one, this value proposition. What is unique value that you supply? When I say unique, that means that not everybody else in the world can do it. There might be a very small cross-section of people who can do it. Can you prove it? I think we did talk about this a little bit last time. What is your dramatic difference? What is the overt benefit? Can you measure it? Can you prove it? Can you say that we install within 72 hours of order? Can you say that we respond to service calls 95% of the time, first time fix within an hour? Those are the kind of things that will allow you, if you contract it, to not talk about price. So when they ask you, okay, what's the price? You can say, we'll get to that. We always will. We'll always get the price. But I'm going to tell you before I get to price, because if you ask me that question, I'm going to take you through. That's my mentality when I'm selling. If somebody asks me what the price is, we're going to get to the price. Believe me, I'm going to give you the price, I'm going to give you the terms, I'm going to tell you everything about it. But before we get there, I've got to tell you some other stuff. And the other stuff is all this differentiating point of view. 98% of the time it is, 72% that, 2 hours, etc. Can you quantify it? We ship complete within 72 hours of order, so 97%. That's an example. Our maintenance tickets are responded to within 24 hours, 98.5% of the time. And closed after first visit, 96.4% of the time. This is what you want to talk about. These are the things you want to talk about, but you can't talk about them if you don't know them. That's why I say business growth has a lot more to do with process than it does technique. Process of understanding what you sell, how you supply, who buys it, why do they buy it from you, measuring that, we'll talk about it. And then be able to put that, now if you put that in an email, or if you put that in a postcard, or you put that in your brochure, now you got something to talk about. Because you guys might be feeling it, don't know your market deeply like you guys do, but my guess is your market is on the mature side, in most cases, in most of your products and solutions. And so features, advantage, benefit stuff is kind of done. I mean, unless there's really something you have that nobody else has as far as your features. So once again, it isn't a strategic growth plan, it's a framework for you to build that plan on. It describes what differentiates you in the market. What questions about strategic architecture? You'll get a chance later. So, every industry, you've probably seen this curve in your life, innovation adoption curve. Every industry goes through these stages. Years ago, I like to tell a story. Years ago, when I was in my early 20s, I grew up in Southern California, and there was this building in Cypress, California. It was 5 stories high. At the very top of the building had ADP, red letters, ADP. And I was like, what the heck is ADP? Later, a couple years when I was interested enough to figure it out, automatic data processing. That's where it was. This was 1979, 1980, 1981, in that area. And I asked somebody, what does automatic data processing do? What does ADP do? They said, well, they do outsourced payroll. They do payroll for companies. And again, 1980, 1981, I was thinking, who the hell would ever outsource their payroll? Nobody did that. Your wife did it, your husband did it, your mother-in-law did payroll. It was somebody that was very in the circle. You close the door, you know, and you did payroll. It's the only person in the whole company that knew everything. Now, that was, when I was talking about that, they were innovators. Then the 80s came and there were early adopters. This is like percentage of market that starts to come. Early majority. Anybody want to guess how many, I don't know the number, how many outsourced payroll companies there are today? There's got to be 500,000 of them in the United States. I live in Toledo, Ohio right now. I can tell you there's at least 20 or 30 in Toledo, Ohio. Outsourced payroll. So they've gone through these stages. So you see the yellow line is how the cumulative factor of the market adopting the solution. Are you guys thinking about your market? Are you guys thinking about your products and services? Because you should be. That's what's going on. Where are you guys? Anybody want to talk about where is your industry? Right now. I don't know the answer. I need someone to help me. Where do you think you are?
Well, if you're talking about adoption of card payment, it's 100% at this point. We're very close to 100%.
Right. There's very few people using a cash register.
Right.
Alone. So what you're saying is the market is saturated with the concept. Everybody knows what is you do POS and the credit card transactions on. I mean, it's prevalent. So what the heck do you do? What do you do? So, in baseball terminology, you got to put on play, right? You got to do something different at some spot. You've got to add some complexity to your solution. You've got to innovate something new. You got to put down a bunt. You got to hit behind the run. You got to steal a base. You have to do something when you get to this stage. You know, if 16% of the market is not doing what you offer, you probably don't want them because they're kind of like the Flintstones, right? And if somebody comes to you like they're an innovator or something, that's also somewhat problematic. So be thinking as I'm talking, as you're going through this, and I know you have, but continue to challenge yourself. How do I bring greater value, complexity to my solution, commercial arrangement? How do I supply it? Who buys it? Why do they buy it? That's what I'm talking about. Because when you get out here where you're at 90% market share percentage in the market, you know, it's not whether or not it's going to go away, it's just when. Unless you're continually innovating. So you got to find something in your market that's up here and bolted on. Go to your current customers, supply them with complimentary services. You know the McDonald's story. You guys, think about McDonald's. Again, I'm showing my age here, but when I grew up, we went to McDonald's and for a quarter we'd get a hamburger and a Coke, right? And if we had 50 cents, we'd get a shake. And they built billions and billions of burgers, first in the United States and then around the world. Thousands of units, real estate. It was a distribution model, is what it was. So McDonald's built this over 30, 40 years, thousands of stores around the world. And then one day, somebody in the merchandising group, somebody in their strategic planning group, about 20 years ago, 25 years ago, said, let's sell, you know why? Because they were out here, right? They had sold everybody 20 burgers a year, 20 Cokes, malts, fries, it was 90%. And somebody said, hey, we've got this infrastructure, we've got this distribution system, we've got this delivery process. What can we do? We're going to go down. Somebody said, and I'm sure they got fired. Somebody said, let's sell breakfast. And I'm sure the first things that came out of most of the leaders' mouths were, are you kidding me? Sell breakfast? And I'm sure they thought about it, debated about it. Like I said, people probably got fired. But eventually they sold breakfast. The day they decided to sell breakfast and they put it into their systems, they were probably the #1 supplier of dairy products, eggs in the world. Because they just plugged it in. Plugged it into the distribution system. So that's one story. So you've got this customer base. You have this customer base. What can you plug into that to bring more value? And I think you're probably doing some of that in these kind of events. What can you plug in that to bring more value and bring more margin and revenue to the organization? So you got to make a play. Because what happens, if you guys have heard the S-curve conversation, that's what that is. That's S-curve, and right there where I put that little logo for the batter, is one of two things happens. You either are successful with innovation change, or you're not. If you're successful, the curve goes back up again, and you go another ride. And if you're not, that S-curve goes down. And when it goes down, it's not as much fun. So it's going to happen one way or the other, and it already happened. S-curve. So how do you get that thing to go back up? So from the movie, Brad Pitt, I made this up, but he asked, what's the problem? And I say, the process of quantifying the impact of multiple marketing exposures and touch points, preceding a desired outcome. The desired outcome is to close sales, supply, get money, right? So what are those activities that precede that? This is a review from last year, but I kind of like to say it again just to get it solid in your head. Selling success is due to far more than technique. It's design and implementation of a process, proactively, rhythmically, communicates your value propositions, those things we talked about already, overt benefit. We do this fast, this often. So your value propositions that differentiate you to strategic targets that you've chosen because you believe that you can supply them better than anybody else. We're going to talk about that in a second. While building trusting relationships, that interaction begins to build trust in the market. That enables you to learn about buying systems at a restaurant, at a dry cleaner, at a car wash, whatever it is. If you don't have regular frequency of interaction, strategically talking with them about the value that you bring, understanding who the buying influences are there, and we'll talk about this in a minute, then you're never really going to understand motivation to buy, and you're probably not going to win. So I tell people, they'll say, well, there's 20,000 people in my community to buy what it is I sell. I ask them to just come up with a list of the 200 you want to make friends with, and let's go make friends with them. Because 2,000 is hard, 20,000 is hard. So My preference almost always in the B2B market is let's find 100, let's find the 200, let's go make friends with them and let's bring them in. Timing. Timing is everything in B2B sales. Assuming you're good at what you do, you know how to price it, you know how to close it, supply it, serve it. If you don't, then you've got problems, right? But assuming you do all of those things, then really all we're talking about is timing. You guys wrestle with it all the time. Refreshes. They would say, I would have bought from you if I'd known you guys sold this. I'd have bought from you if I didn't. You know, I wish you were here 6 months ago. I wish you were here 6 months ago because I just signed a big contract. Timing is everything. So, you know, in baseball, it's no different. 60 foot, 6 inches, 90 mile an hour fastball coming at you. You've got to split second. Your timing's got to be right. Your hips got to move. Shoulders got to turn. Things got to happen all in a perfect sequence. It's not that different when you're trying to grow a business. You need to be there when the opportunity is there. You need to do the right things when the time is right. Here's the brutal facts. In 2000, this comes from the Association of Inside Sales Professionals. So in 2007, it took 3.68 touches to connect with a prospect. Phone call, email, thank you card. You remember me talking about thank you cards last year. Hopefully you've written one a day, 200 days. If you haven't, that'll help. 3.6 touches to connect to a prospect. That was in 2007. Today it takes 8 before they'll connect with you. By the way, as you know, my influencers have less and less time to talk to people like you. They're not taking the time. So it takes about 8 touches now. The average rep, the average person who's selling for a living, 2 touches and then they quit. Well, I called him, I sent him an email, he didn't respond. Do that 4 times more. Do it 8 times. Call them, I'm not saying call them every day, I'm not saying send an email every day, but I'm saying over a period of time, make 8 touches. I would say in a typical world, a touch every 2 to 3 weeks in the B2B world. Over about 3 months or so, you should have 8 touches. I want that organization to make sure that they know who you are and what you're about and the solutions you can bring them. This is the fallacy with what I call homogeneous marketing, email marketing. You can hire a firm to go do email marketing for you. 132, is that billion? Emails are sent per day in the United States. 3% get clicked. I have this latest, greatest Microsoft software, I don't even know the name of it, but we got it installed about a year ago on all of our systems. And now I notice in my inbox I have this thing called clutter. You guys have clutter? Well, it used to be that you'd have junk email and it would capture the most, ugly, dirty, spammy sort of email, right? Now clutter, heck, it captures stuff from my bank because it's marketing. Clutter is learn how to catch marketing emails and puts them in I don't even see them. I don't even see them. So just be careful of homogeneous marketing because it's cheap and it's fast. It also means it's probably not that good. I'm not saying don't do email. I'm not saying it doesn't have some uses. I'm just saying don't do that by itself only. There's got to be other things in your arsenal. Or I think you're doomed. You're not differentiated because every knucklehead in the country is sending 20,000 emails a month. Nearly half, 47%, describe their organization's demand-side efforts, building demand, as sketchy or failing to have any impact. That's like half. So I get this all the time, when I tell people, they'll ask me, well, how long does it take, really before somebody pays attention to you, you get some traction, somebody wants to talk. I tell them 6 to 8 touches, usually 6 to 8 months before you start to see it. And that really has bared out to be true. It's 5, 6, 7 months of interaction, regular, a couple times a month before you start to see people really paying attention. So if you think you're doing this, you're probably not. That's why I say go to 200 instead of 20,000 prospects, design a wave plan we'll talk about in a minute, and have regular interaction with them. Find a way. You remember this maybe from last year? I told you this is the master's level stuff, the happy face and sad face. Take time over a year. You can make these months or quarters, whatever you want to do. But these happy face and sad face represent a buying influence. Happy face is a buying influence that's content. Motivation to buy is very low. They're set. They just bought a new system. It's been the last year. They love it. It's all good. You can talk to them as long and as often as you want. It probably isn't going to change, but we'll talk about that in a minute. It's probably not going to change their motivation. Unless you have some really big vision that's very different. We'll talk about that. The sad face buying influence, their motivation to buy is pretty high. There's something wrong. They know they're not getting the best product. They know they're paying too much. They're not getting serviced correctly. It's not working well, whatever it might be. Their motivation to buy is high. So, you know, we're pretty good nowadays getting out a Christmas card, Happy Holidays card today. And we'll get out a holidays card. You know, we gather up all the business cards around this time of year, usually, November. Everybody throws them at somebody, and somebody builds an Excel spreadsheet, and then we'll get Christmas cards out. That's a touch. You might get another touch in February or March after the holidays. You make some outbound touch with the market. Summer comes, golf, boats, vacations, kids, all that neat stuff. We don't get quite at it the way we should. Maybe get something in the fall. So this is meant to depict, if this line would represent one buying influence. Now, I already told you 200, 300 is a good number. Imagine 200 or 300 of these lines. All over the place. Representing a buyer's motivation to buy. The buyer mode, we're going to talk about that. Well, you can see where these three touches were, that the buying influence was content. So, you know, of course, if we knew when buyers were going to dip, when they were going to become motivated, we would just call them then. Right? But there's no system for that today, as far as I know. You know, where buyers go online and start putting their happy face, sad face, you know, on their product or service. It would be cool if they did. So what you need to do, obviously, is eliminate that gap. Eliminate that, you know, it's amazing how quick buying influences forget what you do, who you are, what you supply. So you need to pick who it is that are your strategic targets. You need to understand what differentiates you in the market and your value propositions. And then you need to lay that down at least every 3, 4, 5 weeks. And guess what? Even doing that, more than 80% of them will never buy from you. It's discouraging. It's hard. That's why you have to have a process. That's why you have to have a process. Any of you have heard the old sales story? It's like the door-to-door salesman who sells vacuum cleaners. And he knows that every time he gets a sell, he goes door to door in the neighborhood. Every time he gets a sell, he makes $100. And it takes him 10 doors to get a sell. So, you know, the key in sales is not get too discouraged, not get too up. So what he did, he developed this pattern. He'd go knock on the door, sell a vacuum cleaner, and the lady would say, sorry, I'm not interested. He would walk away from the front door and say, thank you for the $10. Go to the second one, walk away, thank you for the $10. Gets to the 10th one, knock, 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 sells the vacuum cleaner, walks away, says, thank you for the $10. And we're going to talk a little bit about this. The attitude that you have to have is that every interaction is a moment of truth. Every interaction is an opportunity in the future to sell something you just don't know it yet. You don't know it yet. So don't say it didn't work. You don't know if it didn't work. Some people will say, oh, it didn't work. And then 6 months from now, they get $150,000. It works. There's nothing about staying in touch, saying pretty words about your organization, somebody who needs it, that doesn't work. It's timing. Make sense? Make waves in the market. So what we do anyway, and I think what you should do, is something like this, where these white boxes represent touches, interactions. Phone call, letter, follow-up phone call, mail a postcard, make a phone call, state some value proposition, mail a handwritten note, et cetera, et cetera. Just keep moving through the waves. Those white boxes represent a touch maybe every 3, 4, 5 weeks. 200 of your best prospects. Just do it with 100 of your best prospects. And do it for a year. Don't send them an email every 3 or 4 weeks. Actually call them, write them a thank you note, give them a postcard, send them an article that you think is interesting. There's a lot of stuff in the market, white papers. But you got to put the plan together. I know you think, oh my God, how can I do this? You can do it. You can't do it with 20,000, but you can do it with 100. You can definitely do it with 100.
Done perfectly though, you could do it.
You ever been at a restaurant, you're having a good time at the table next to you, just taking a nap? That's what I felt like right there. It's nothing worse than being a speaker, here's a speaker next door doing rock. So, mix your pitches, mix your pitches. In baseball, if you just threw, fastballs all day long, you get slaughtered, although there's some that do, but they're 98 miles an hour. Nobody can touch them. But for the most part, you got to mix up your pitches. Okay? It's really important. Next, this is something we don't do well in most cases. If I walked into organizations, one of the first questions I would ask is, where are your scoreboards? What are your key performance indicators? How do you know how you're doing? And they always say sales. And I said, well, that's good. I mean, it's good to know what your sales are, and it's good to know what your margins are. But it's really important to know the things that lead to that, the leading indicators of a closed order. What are the leading activities that you're measuring that are going to get you to that spot? So you need to be able to track what's going on in your system, in your funnel, where organizations are. Are they stage 1, stage 2, stage 3? Are we getting deeper into it? Have we had a meeting? Did we do a proposal? What's the value of your proposals? What's the value of your closes? Because some people will say, well, I close 4 out of 10 proposals. That's 40%. What's the percentage of value that you close? Do you know that number? You should know that number. I close 20% of the value of the proposals. I close 60% on the value. So if I proposed $100,000, I closed $60,000, but that was only 3 out of 10 orders, proposals, 3 out of 10 proposals. You should know both of those things, because that's going to help you understand the efficiency of your proposing system. So identify sales stages from a customer's perspective. Where are you in those stages? Know exactly how to get into and out of a stage. It doesn't have to have 6 stages. It doesn't have to have 8. You can have 3. If it's easier for you, keep it simple. It doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be a computer. It doesn't have to be on CRM. All those things I'm saying, we do. CRM, computerization, automation, reports. I know everything on thousands and thousands of buyers in our system. We use Salesforce.com. For you, if I were to come into your office, I would say, where's your whiteboard? And you take me to a whiteboard, and I would start to create KPIs on your whiteboard. You can do it. It doesn't have to be hard. I'll show you in a second. Track real number and ratios, as I was just describing about proposals. Measure proposal value, number of proposals, and measure the number of proposals won and the value of proposals won. Wins, they're really easy to measure, but that's not the whole story. On that whiteboard, if I were to go into your office, ignore that really fancy, cool chart on the right, because that is computer generated. But if I had a whiteboard at your place, I would have 1 through 31 for the dates, and I'd have attempted calls, completed calls, meetings. For me, I like to track thank you cards, proposals, proposal value, and every day I would just write in a number. People say, I don't have time for that. It takes 5 minutes. It takes 5 minutes a day. Because if you don't have this stuff, nobody's paying attention to it, it's really hard to understand what's going on in business. I want you guys to have the leading indicators of what's going to happen in 30 to 60 days. Your gestation of sell, the duration it takes from the time you get, hi, my name is Mark, to when you get money, I don't know, you guys got to answer that question, but it's probably at least 60, 90, 120 days. Some may be longer. 9 months before you, when you shake the hand to when you get. So I can't measure the effectiveness of my business growth process on stuff that's not going to happen for 9 months. But I can measure the attempted calls that I made, completed calls, the meetings I had, the proposals I had. I can keep track of that stuff, and I can tell you if I do more of that and I do better at it every time I do it, it's going to be good in 60, 90, 120 days. So get on a whiteboard. I know you struggle with it because you're running business. Many of you are supplying the service and you're trying to build demand. And I understand that's hard. But I will say this. My guess, as busy as you are, your accounting system is up to date. I'm betting you don't let your credit cards go unreconciled for 6 months. I'm betting that you know how many deposits are going into your account and it's in your accounting system in QuickBooks, and I'm betting you keep that up to date. Why is it that sales doesn't get that same kind of treatment? Why aren't we reconciling our sales accounts every day? You need to. It takes 5 minutes. Take a couple hours to set it up, whether you do an Excel spreadsheet or on a whiteboard, and then every day take 5 minutes and update the numbers. Oh, Mark, how do I keep track of all the phone calls? 20 years ago, you know what we did? We had a pad on our desk with a tick chart. Tick, 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 cross. Tick, 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 cross. You made 37 phone calls today. It doesn't have to be hard. But I'll tell you what, if you and 2 or 3 of your best friends in the organization that are doing this stuff are doing this, you will see lift in your organization on sales. As soon as you start tracking attempted calls, completed calls, meetings, and proposal dollars and value, you'll see lift. Or you can say, hey guys, our sales are down this month. Guess what? Too late. Whatever you do right now is probably 60, 90, 120 days away. Keep scoring. Strategic thinking. I'm almost like continuously on thinking about my businesses and strategically, how are they positioned, where are we going, what are our next goals? And I'm always trying to call the right signals in my organization. I got 30 people in one organization. Trying to call the right signals to make things happen the way they need to happen, strategically to get things done. So, as I've said before, strategic targets. Choose who you want to do business with. There are a lot of ways to find out, a lot of ways to get lists nowadays. Google and the internet is an incredible tool nowadays. You can find a lot of stuff. Hell, you can go into Yelp. Any of you use Yelp to go to a restaurant? It's a little app you download. If you guys sell to restaurants, go into Yelp. There's your target list. That's pretty good. You can even put within 6 miles of this spot. My guess is people that get 4 and 5 stars on Yelp for their food and service, attention to detail, are better customers than our 2 stars. Just guessing. I don't know. That's crazy. Go on Yelp. Refine the target list based on the dramatic difference you can make in their marketplace, in their business. So refine that target list. Settle on a number of targets at which you can build meaningful relationships. It's always struck me as sort of curious Why in the B2B market, we are often selected by buyers rather than the other way around. We do business with people who select us. And I think it comes from an old mentality of yellow pages. You know, you would put your ad in yellow pages and people would go through, look for washer, dryer, appliance. And you go, oh, there's 6 companies that have appliances in my town. They call 6. And that's, you know, you got found in the old days. In the B2B market, that's the only way you could afford to do it. And that was very expensive. So nowadays, you do have the version of the yellow page, a little bit more automated, right? You got LinkedIn, you have Facebook, you can use Facebook. I'm not against those things. In fact, I rather think it's useful. But if you're going to do those sort of things, today's yellow pages, LinkedIn, Facebook, you got to be diligent. It's not like the yellow pages that you just do it once a year. If you're going to do LinkedIn or you're going to do Facebook or things like that, I'm not a big Twitter guy, but there's not that much that I say that should be that interesting. But for those of you who are into it, tweet. You know? But we certainly recommend, and we are very active in our companies with LinkedIn. My Facebook pages are kind of culture pages. They're more internal. But, you know, they're obviously out there for everybody to see. Think about market trends and long-term ongoing potential. So, you know, we're talking about McDonald's and we're talking about Yelp with restaurants. You know, I have to believe restaurants are sort of a target for you guys, right? Most of you. So, where's that industry going? You don't have to answer it, but you should know. In 5 years, what's the likelihood of this, that, or the other? What's going to happen? Do you really think we're all still going to go up to a person and make an order? Probably not. 5 years? Not in most places. Where was I? Chicago, somewhere. I was at McDonald's. My son went into McDonald's, and they had a kiosk that looked like an iPhone, but it was like this big. And it was a freaking iPhone. And people, they just placed their order. And then they just went over and grabbed it. That was at McDonald's. So, where's it going? Wouldn't you want to be on the front end of it? Wouldn't you want to be in the early adapter? Wouldn't you want to be in that first 30%? So be thinking about all that and try to move towards it. So food establishments, I'm just trying to break it down. So food establishments, more specific, fast casual, more specific, privately held, more specific, smaller than 20 employees, more, Lucas County. Do that. Do that 5 times. Get specific about your strategic target. And the reason that you choose those targets are 2 reasons. One is because you believe that the market is moving in a direction that's going to be a nice direction for you. Or you believe that you have some differentiating factor in that market that your competition can't touch or have a hard time touching. C's. I'm going to talk a little bit about 5 C's of selling. So, of course, I have a baseball thing, so I just had to come up with some C's from baseball. I like to think of this structure as again, another framework, another way for you to think about your approach and when you're talking with people. Because some people really struggle with, you know, we used to say cold calls, but, you know, I don't think of anything today as a cold call if you're doing your job on the wave plan, right? If you're sending a letter, sending a postcard, sending a handwritten note, cold calls are kind of done. They don't work. Cold calls don't work, just like email doesn't work. But I don't care. My definition of a cold call is just pick up the phone and call me. You've never heard of my company. You don't know who I am. You don't know what we do. And I'm just calling you to say, hey, I'm Mark. I'm the COAC, and I want to talk to you. That's a cold call. Before we would ever do that, he'd have 3 or 4 touches. He'd have gotten a newsletter. He would have gotten a postcard. He'd have gotten an email. Then I'd pick up the phone and say, hi, my name's Mark, the COAC. He says, yeah, everyone's been sending me that crap I've been throwing away. And I said, yeah, and that's about 80% of the time. But 20% of the time, he says, yeah, I got your stuff. It's interesting. Tell me more. So don't get discouraged. Walk away and say thank you for the $10. Thank you for the $10. So 5 C's, a question-based approach. You know, I always say this to my people. My son's in sales in DC, and we talk about it all the time. I think selling gets in the way of learning. I think selling gets in the way of teaching. I think selling gets in the way, oftentimes, of closing. It's like a tug of war. As soon as somebody senses that you're selling, they start pulling away. So, this next 10, 15 minutes or so I'm going to talk about, don't sell. It's time to start listening, teaching, tailoring your message to their particular solution or need. We'll talk about this. We've been taught to get prospect talking. You know, when I first started in sales, it was all about, I already said it earlier, but, you know, open end, closed end, hard close, soft close, trial close. Remember all that stuff? You'd be buying insurance in 1980, 1978, and the guy would be at the kitchen table, and he'd drop his pen. Oh, he laughed. That's the way they teach you. Oh, if you wanted to use that, sign your contract. That's a trial close. And they would do that all the time. I don't think those things work very well. So, in fact, what we've learned is that prospects don't really want to answer open-ended questions. So tell me about your POS system, or tell me about your credit card transaction system. How's that working for you? I don't even know who you are, dude. It's working great. First C, first thing I think, this is the way we tailor conversations. The first C, curiosity. You've got about 15 seconds, so make it good. You better say something that's interesting to get interest. Because really all you're trying to do in this 15 seconds is get more time. That's all you're trying to do. Be edgy, be provocative, but know your buyer. Don't be unprofessional. When I was teaching a lot of inside salespeople, I always told them, you should be able to tell the personality style of the person by the way they answer the phone. Again, I told you my story. I was born in 59. I started selling about 77, 78. I'd call somebody, phone would ring, pick up, Smith. That's one way to answer the phone. Another way is, hi, this is John, can I help you? Those are different buyers. Those are really different buyers. So if you can't pick up on that like in a nanosecond and understand it, you're in trouble. Again, I was at the inside sales desk and I would pick up the phone, I'd call somebody and I'd say, how you doing today? I'm doing great, how about you? I said, come on, don't lie, what's really going on? And they would crack up. They would just that little bit of irreverent, sort of smart-ass response, they broke. And then we would talk. All I was trying to get was more time. I was just trying to get more time. So say something provocative, 15 seconds. I'm not saying be a smart aleck. Be professional. Say something important about what it is that you're doing. Create curiosity about who you are, who your organization is, what your solution is. Something. Curiosity. I noticed that when I got married, my conversations got better because I had more in common with the rest of the buying world. I was married, I could talk about my wife, and I could talk about our house, and it was kind of fun. When I had a kid, it got even better because now we all talk about our kids. And as I get older, I play golf, and so other people play golf, and I think that's kind of cool. So now there's a lot of things we can talk about, create curiosity about. Next, credibility. Now you've got some time, right? You created some curiosity. You got another 30 seconds. You got another 45 seconds. Now it's time to build credibility. This is different than what we were taught 30 years ago. A series of closed-end questions, staccato-like, displaying your competence, gaining more time. Answers should serve to help you gain an insight to the current state. Okay? So what do I mean? Like, Like I sold fluid power. So you folks are an OEM and you buy fluid power to put in these machines. Are you using linear actuators or are you using rotaries? Well, we use both. Okay. Are you doing most on this kind of power or that kind of power? Notice those questions. Short, usually yes, no, 120 volt, black, white, 27, 12. Those are the answers. But these questions begin to frame your credibility because you know what you're talking about. I'm not wasting your time, sir. There's 6 questions I want to ask you real quick, and it's going to help me identify whether you're a good prospect for me and I'm a good supplier for you. I think it's okay to say that stuff. In fact, I think buyers dig it. When you say, I hope you don't mind 30 seconds, I got a few questions to ask, and I don't know if it's a good fit or not, but at the end of that, we'll know. You know, for you, I don't know, how many transactions do you do a month? Is it over 10,000, less than 5,000? How many stations do you have? Blah, 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 whatever it is. Try not to ask in this particular stage, credibility stage, try not to ask, I think, personal questions. I just don't think you have enough credibility yet to do that. Conditioning. Third C. Curiosity, credibility, conditioning. Now you can ask open-ended questions. If you got more time, through credibility, you ask those 4, 5, 6 staccato questions, you got the answers you needed to understand the current state. Now you can start asking, what sort of commercial arrangements do you have with this system? Are you getting any sort of percentage? Are you getting into this? Do you do maintenance contracts today? Can you talk about that? How does that work for you? Is it online? Do you have somebody that comes regular? Blah, 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 whatever you guys have the questions. Now you ask the open-ended questions that begin to condition the buyer to understand, to help you understand, again, where you're going to go. Learn the issues facing that buying system. Really important, the implications of a change. If you haven't read Spin Selling by Rackham, it's another good book to read. It's a stupid name. I always hated the name, but Spin Selling is a really great book. Situation, problem, implication, need, payoff. Spin. Understand the situation. Can you identify the problem or opportunity? What are the implications to the buying system if they were to install your solution? Can you tell them? When you know someone like you that has 10,000 transactions of da-da-da, and you do this and you do that, our system, there's some research out, I'll send you a white paper, it does this, 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 and this. And we're going to save you XXXX, time, money, whatever it might be. That's the implication. So in fact, it sounds like my system's almost self-funding. If you buy from me, it'll almost pay for itself within 60 days, based on the research that we have. And I know your system, we used to sell that system 10 years ago. We used to sell that. But I did play, and I bunted, and now we do this. We innovated. We're doing something different. Fourth one, get commitment. You've identified interest, money, implication. I'm always looking for 3 things. Genuine interest, money. Do you have a budget? And timeline. If they don't have any idea when are you expecting to do this? Oh, I have no idea. That's not a good prospect, guys. That's not a good prospect. Three months, 12 months, 24 months, those are all great answers. Those are all great answers. If you've got your 200 prospects, and you're making, bless you, and you're making your 10 to 12 touches per year, and out of those 200, 100 of them tell you they're 3 years away, good answer. Put that in your goal. Don't wait a year to try to develop a relationship. Keep your waves going, keep your wave plan going. Keep touching them. Make sure your company name stays in front of them every 3, 4, 5 weeks. Send them an article, send them a cartoon, send them a thank you card, send them an email, make a phone call, invite them golfing, whatever. When they say they're not buying for a year, that should not be a salesman's cue that I don't have to develop a relationship for 12 months. The biggest mistake salespeople make, especially those on high commission. Lead the buyer to first step. I always say first step, next step. Well, I'll tell you, that's one way to get in a lot of trouble at CoCard. When I ask somebody in my system, what's the next step? Oh, you know, we didn't really talk about it. Really? You better be quick, make something up. What is the next step? Never leave a conversation, never leave a meeting, never hand a business card to anybody without a next step. Ever. Again. First step, next step. I didn't bring you business cards, but if you guys gave me a business card, I would say, I'll send you my business card. It's the next step. I'm going to send you a business card. And I will. You give somebody a proposal. Ask the prospect, what do you see as the next step? Well, I really don't have a time frame in mind, so I really don't know. You shouldn't have done a proposal. Or in 3 months, I'm going to be valuing, I'm looking at 3 people. You're allowed to ask those kind of things. You're looking for a commitment of time. At a minimum, you're looking for commitments of time. This is human behavior stuff. This is human behavior stuff. The more time that we spend together, the more we care for each other. The more we care for each other, the more we want each other to do well. I'm not making this up. This is not sales talk. This is sociology. The more we hang out together, the more you care about me, the more you care about me, the more you want me to do well. And quite frankly, the more I want to do well for you. I want you to do well. Right? So get commitment of time. And then cultivate. Plan and maintain quality interaction. Cultivate. Target larger share of wallet. So if you got business there, what else can you get? Do they have friends? Do they have divisions or other units? How do you expand once you get in? You know, you wouldn't go to the best place on the pond to go fishing and pull a fish out after 2 minutes and then say, okay, let's go to the next one. No, you throw another line in, you get another one. You throw another line in, you get another one. You keep going until you wear it out. Get that share of wallet, earn it, prove it, keep it, grow it, ask them for referrals. We have a great referral program, sir. If you refer us to somebody, we'll give $100 to a charity of your choice. Cool. Yeah, I like that. Can you give it to my son's school? Yes, I could. Call Joe. Or I'll arrange a meeting for you. So cultivate. Let's talk a little bit now. You know, in the old days, it used to be you'd walk into an organization and you would ask for the buyer if you're B2B sales. Hi, can I speak to the buyer who's in charge of fluid power? Buys all your fluid power stuff. Yeah, that's Rick Wagner. Let me see if he's available. And if any of you guys did this stuff, you remember these days. And they'd call Rick, and half of the time, Rick would come out into the lobby, and he'd meet me. And we'd talk about my valves and filters and regulators and lubricators. Not so much today. Not so much today. And if I could build a relationship with Rick, he'd buy lots of stuff from me for a long time if we built a strong relationship. It's getting harder. More complex, 3 or 4 people involved. Everybody's into their smartphones. Everybody's busy. They don't come out and see you anymore. Nobody comes out to see you unless you have an appointment. And it's really hard to get appointments. Buying systems have become very complex. So if you are selling to a restaurant chain at 8 stores, each of them has a store manager. There's probably a technology manager. There's probably a merchandise. They're becoming very complex. Whereas in the old days, Joe owned the 8 stores. You talk to Joe, get a good relationship, and go. You know, it's like at Kodak, my company, so I get calls periodically from people who are selling photocopy machines. And they leave me a message. Mark, I recognize you're the president of Kodak, and I believe you're probably the decision maker. Really would like to talk to you about our excellent line of photocopiers and how we can help save, make money, all that good stuff. I'm not the decision maker on photocopiers in my company. I sign the check, but somebody else tells me what we're going to buy. I don't make that decision. If I did, I'd get killed. There's 3 or 4 people that use that photocopier 10 times an hour. They make that decision. Learn the mode I was talking about earlier, happy face, sad face, motivation to buy. We're going to talk about modes in a second, but learn the mode or mood of the buying system, what's going on. And we're going to talk about this in a minute. Understand power and support, the framework of power and support, and work it. So on buyer modes, what's a buyer's motivation to buy? We talked about it a little bit, but these are the 4 areas. If you want to get more detail on this, make a little note. We talked about it last year. One of the best sales books you could ever read is called Strategic Growth, and it's by Miller Hyman. And it's just wonderful. They go down and they talk about buyer motivation, they talk about buyer types. It's really good. Growth, trouble, even keel, and overconfident. These are the buyer types. We're going to go through these real quick. What is a buyer's motivation? So growth, this is, if they stay on the path, this is where they are today, and that's where they started thinking not very well. And then that's where they want to go. And that gap is where you're playing, right? So the probability of taking action is high. They're growing. They got 3 more stores that need to get installed, and when they do it, they got to look at the other 6. So their motivation's high. The probability of taking some action that's going to change, and we'll talk about that, I think we did last year also, is high. Does your solution reduce or eliminate the gap? So you're looking for growth. That's why I said earlier, look at market segments, look at the industry, how it's changing. What's changing? What's growing? Trouble. Again, probability is high. Can you close the gap? Something happened, something broke, it's breaking too often, service isn't there, the price is too high, I can't get support. That's trouble. That's an opportunity. But again, timing is everything, right? See how this all ties back? Timing is everything. So if this person's been hearing from you every 3, 4, 5 weeks, postcard, handwritten note, white paper, email, phone call, that means you make 3 phone calls a year. Don't freak out on me. Make 3 phone calls a year, do 3 postcards a year, do 2 handwritten notes instead of white paper. And you just need to do 4 or 5 touches a day. You just do it. You'll get used to it. It's like working out. Once you start it, it's good. So trouble, can you eliminate the gap? Even keel. Probability of taking action is low. They're kind of like, why rock the boat? Everything's good. We just made this investment 2 years ago. I think we're at least a few years away. I'm not going to rock the boat right now. Everything's good. We get this all the time, right? We get this all the time. And I'm going to show you, we talked about it last year, but I'm going to show you a little model how you maybe knock them out of it. Overconfident. Oh, we've got the bestest, fastest, safest, securest, profitable system ever in the history of the world. You could never help us. They don't, but they think they do. Probability of taking action is almost nil. So, you know, there's a couple things in my head as I think about this is that you know, you got that. Sometimes as a salesperson, you can be talking, by the way, somebody who's overconfident or even keel could be the nicest person in the world. And that's like double trouble. Because they like you. And they'll talk to you all the time. They're not going to buy anything from you. But they'll talk to you all day long. So I'm not saying you should avoid nice people, because you shouldn't avoid nice people, and you should be friends with them, and and such, but just don't expect a lot of business if they're an even keel overconfident. If they can't describe for you in their chatty way how they're growing or in trouble, thanks for the time. Let's move on. So what I think about, some of you may remember this last year. This formula. R is resistance to change. This, by the way, is not a sales formula. This is an organizational behavior formula that I use when I do organizational change. But it works in sales the same way. If you're trying to quit smoking, if you're trying to lose weight, if you're trying to do certain things in your life, this formula will work. So R is the factor of this formula, and if these were all, being multiplied, each of these has to have a value, right, to overcome resistance to change. So the three things that have to be measurable, that you have to be able to identify, or you will never get in order. One, there needs to be some dissatisfaction with their current state. So you can use a scale of 1 to 10. 1 is good. 10 is awesome. 0, overconfident. You're never going to get in order. There needs to be some measurable dissatisfaction with their current state. V, if they don't have it, you need to help them establish some vision of the future that's different than today. I'd love to show you the store over at XYZ. It's only 2 blocks away. I can show you what we've done there, and it's going to show you the big difference between where you're at today. Because they might have a 0 here, but if you can build an 8 to 10 here, you might build this up to an 8 after they see it, after they see a demo, after they get the contract, after whatever it is. But there has to be some measurable dissatisfaction. There has to be some vision of the future that's different than today, better than today. And then the third thing that needs to be there is first steps. We already talked about it. Those are, you have to have these 3 things that you expect to get in order. So I think the job of the salesperson lives right here. That's where you live. You should be a master at the 5 C's that help you uncover that. Situation, problem, implication, need. Curiosity, credibility, condition, cultivate. How do you do it? DBF greater than R. If you don't have those, it's not going to work. By the way, this will work on your organization. This will work with your kids. This will work with anything you're trying to get change to happen in the human system. If you want to change your culture at your work, but there's no real dissatisfaction about the way we are, we're kind of complacent, everything's cool, life rock the road, it's kind of hard to get change. So like Tom Peters in the old days, he wrote a book called Thriving on Chaos, and he would, I think one of the big points I got out of the book was that when an organization became complacent, as a CEO, he would go in and blow it up. He would create chaos in the organization. It seems counterintuitive for a leader to do that, but that's what he would do. And it can work. There is positive chaos. Buying system, power and support. Really big. I hate this question. Somebody calls me and says, "Are you the decision maker?" No, I'm not. There's another guy that's a decision maker. I'm just gathering information. I think it's kind of a rude question. I don't like it. So I teach our people not to ask that question. But what I do teach them to ask, can you tell me about your buying process? What are the stages that you guys go through in evaluating these sort of things? Who's involved? Are they involved all the way through, or do certain people get involved at different times? That question is a really important question. You are going to find out who the decision maker is. You're going to find out who's actually going to write the check, but it's not asking, are you the decision maker? So I like to teach my people, can you tell me about your buying process? What are the stages you're going to go through? And who's involved? Who's involved in that? Sometimes I'll mention names, sometimes I don't. So if you look at this grid, buying power, that person, buying power, low, moderate, high. That person, that buyer's interest or support for your solution, weak, moderate, strong. Low power, weak support, reduce, eliminate time invested, neutralize this person. They're not going to help you, and they don't have any power to help you. Lots of power, weak support, listen for objections, frame thoughtful responses, test change, EVF, seek outside advocacy from somebody like that who has strong interest and support for your solution but can't get it done. Go to that person, engage to learn, navigate the buying process, and learn from them who are the buying influences. And of course, if you're up there, that's nirvana, that's fine. Somebody who has a lot of power and a lot of support for your solution, that's good. Now, it doesn't need to be so sophisticated that you put this on your wall or anything like that. But if it were me, I'd have a chart like that up, and I'd be thinking about it. Because I tell you, some of the biggest failures of my sales life, months and months and months, is spending time with that person and not getting that person to help me get that person over there. You keep talking to them, they can't make a decision, they're not going to make a decision. Hours and hours and hours, thousands of dollars of time, hours spent. So, at COACT anyway, we have, you might imagine, we have a numerical representation of this, and we have buyer types, like economic buyers and money person, and we actually assign them a numerical value in the power support chart. Technical buyers, different types of buyers, coach, somebody's going to coach you through the system. And I like to kind of get them on a grid and know where they're at. Do you guys want to take a quick coffee break?
We got 20 minutes left.
20 left?
Yeah.
All right. You want us to keep mushing this? Beer's coming soon. Beer and boat. Beer and boat. Hopefully I say one more thing that's useful so that 20 minutes. Wow. So, there's these professions out there, you've got architects and CPAs and various, precision metal association. These associations have very established criteria, rules, certifications. You can do all degrees for many of these professions. Sales, not so much. We read books. And I guess I'm really proud of the fact about 10 years ago, there is an inside sales profession association in America that's really good. We're active in it. We have members on their board, and it's been kind of cool. But I think that it's really important for us to do more and more of our work in a research-based environment and become more process-oriented. Again, it's always struck me as sort of curious why every system in our organization, and you know it in your head, has a lot of specificity to it. The way you enter an order, the way you supply the solution, the way you follow up, the way you collect money, the way you put money in the bank, the way you pay your bills, the way you take care of your people, the payroll company that you use, all of that stuff. There's a lot of detail to it. And in sales, some of us just are looking, we just hire a 6-shooter cowboy and say, hey, can you do some sales? Damn right I can. I can sell. Hey, oh, you're my guy. You're my guy. Where have you been? Well, This book is called The Challenger Cell. I'm going to summarize here for you real quick, but I think it's kind of groundbreaking because it's one of 2 or 3 books that I've ever read in sales, and I've read 50 of them, that actually is based in research. They did a lot of research. It was released 2011, I think. What they came up with, and what they've identified is that there's a purchasing revolution that's going on really over this last generation. No longer is purchasing a profession where just low-performing HR people go die. And there's some truth in that in many organizations. There's been a real shift, powerful purchasing methodologies, supplier segmentation strategies, sophisticated supply chain management models. Most buying systems have become very sophisticated. Maybe not always in your case, but in the bigger cases when you're targeting higher up the chain, they've become very sophisticated. Lacking any real true sales system, you're just going to get stuck. You're caught in the wheel of the buying system. And so that's why I say you almost have to combat a system of buying with a system of selling. Sales was suddenly being out-processed, and it really has been out-processed for most of my life. Thank goodness for me. Trends in buying behaviors, the rise of consensus-based selling. Again, no longer can you go shake Joe's hand, get the order, do business for 2 or 3 years. Very, very rare nowadays. Very much consensus-based. Everybody has committees. They have tracks that work on things and look at technology solutions and gather information, organize it, analyze it, learn from it, make recommendations. You know, there's a whole process that people go through now. We've been taught how to do it. Increased risk aversion. Most buying systems do have a risk aversion. Again, it has to do with this stuff. Greater demand for customization. You're probably feeling this a lot in your market. Buying systems now, and it's happening with millennials. You know, it used to be like when I went to get my first job, I would say, boy, I just want a job. And they'd say, okay, when can you start? And I would say Monday. How much am I going to get paid? They'd say, oh, you're going to get paid $10 an hour. I said, okay, $10 an hour. What are the hours? 8 o'clock to 5 o'clock. Okay, what do I have to wear? You have to wear a tie and a shirt, and you do that. And so we did that. Nowadays, I hire millennials. Can I work from 8 to 12? And then I like to take a long lunch because I want to work out and I love salad. So can I come back in at 2 and then I'll work till 6? No, we work from 8 to 5. You know, but anyways, there's a movement that's going on around customization. Everybody wants it just the way they want it, right? I mean, we got apps with 32 setup names. Do you want alerts? Do you not want alerts? Do you want them every day? Do you want them once a week? You know, they're mass customization. That's what's going on in the world. You guys are getting hit by it too. Everybody wants it exactly the way they want it. So, if you have a system that allows for that, that's really good. So, greater demand for customization. The rise of third-party consultants. There's a lot of third-party stuff going on where sometimes you talk to an organization and say, well, let me talk to my coach. Let me talk to my executive coach. I did that too. The Challenger Cell. It's written by a group, CEB, they're out of Washington, D.C., and like I said, it was research-based, 6,000 salespeople, 90 different organizations. They interviewed sales leaders of these organizations, and the first research question that the authors asked was which skills, behaviors, knowledge, and attitudes matter most for high performance in sales. So they came up with 5 profiles from those characteristics and traits. One is a hard worker. We've all seen those salespeople. They're maybe not the smartest. They probably aren't even the best closers or not, you know, even relationship builders, not that good at it. They just work hard. They just work really hard. They're driving to work, they're on the phone, they got the pad on the dash. They're hard workers. They just work. The Challenger, which we'll learn more about. The relationship builder, which is the one we've been taught for so many years, is to build strong relationships. The relationship builder. The lone wolf. This is a person that kind of does his own thing, when he wants to do it, how he wants to do it, gets the job done. Do you want me to follow the system, or do you want me to sell stuff? And my answer is yes. So, follow the system. And then the reactive kind of problem solver. Oh, I got a phone call. Oh, I'll talk to you in a minute. No problem. I'm fixing it. I got it. Well, what they found was that the top performers, believe it or not, were challengers. The worst performers were relationship builders in their sales organizations. When I say best top, I think it was the top quartile. They asked which of these, first they found out the categories, characteristics, or traits, they labeled them, and then they said, how many of your salespeople in that top quartile meet that definition? The ones in the top quartile were challengers. So what's a challenger? Challengers do 4 things that are very distinct from most salespeople. Number 1, they see one of their primary roles is to teach. And when I say teach for differentiation, what I mean is teach the market something, teach the buyer something that they otherwise wouldn't know if you didn't walk through their door. I think great salespeople are great teachers. Tailor your message for resonance. Tailor what you're talking about to that market. And if you can, to that store, to that person. Tailor your message. Like I said, Smith to, hi, this is John, how can I help you? Tailor your message to resonate with those people. When Smith answers the phone, I say, hello, sir, my name is Mark Frasco. When John says, hi, this is John, can I help you? Hey, John, how you doing today? Tailor your message. That's just a really stupid, simple example. But tailor what it is that you do for that particular buying system. This is kind of counterintuitive for most people, but I believe strongly in this. I think the best salespeople take control. They're not waiting for the buyer to make a decision. They take control. I tell people when I'm selling them, if they're kind of going, like I feel like I'm losing control, I would tell them, it's okay for you to say no. It's okay for you not to buy from me. I'm going to be okay. I'll survive, and I will find somebody else who needs what it is that we sell. Take control. Don't let that, well, they didn't call me back, and I'm still calling them, and I sent them 3 emails and they haven't responded. Take control of the sale. Move on. Some will, some won't. So what? Next. Right? Remember Sandler? SW3. Leverage constructive tension. Some people that sell get really uncomfortable when there's a little bit of tension about what it is that you're solving the problem of, what they're doing. I think that tension is constructive. That doesn't mean you go in and be a butt. It just means tension is a place where learning happens. Tension is a place where buying. Leverage that tension. It's okay to say, you know, I understand where you're at, the system is 10 years old, and you're probably trying to save money, but you don't know how much money you're losing. That's a tension statement. You don't know how much money you're losing. You don't know how much money you're losing in your people. 1 minute per transaction, 1,000 transactions a day. That should create tension. D. Leverage constructive tension. So teach for differentiation. A challenger rep delivers insights that reframe the way customers think about their business or their needs. Teach for differentiation. In a commodity market where you've got 90 to 100% adoption, you better be teaching them something different to do. You better pivot, you better bunt, you better put a play on yes, still second. Something's got to happen. You better make something happen because you're going to lose the game if you don't do something different. Teach something that they don't know. Tailor. Challenger reps communicate sales messages in the context of a customer. It's a dominant personality, a detail-oriented person, cheerleader type, oh, I hate change type. Those are all different types of people that buy. Is this an economic buyer? Is this a technical buyer? Is this a coach? Is this a user? All of those are different. Tailor your message to that particular buying influence or to that organization. Challenger reps do that. Take control. Challenger reps openly pursue goals in a direct but not aggressive way to overcome increased customer risk aversion. Take control. They pursue their goals. I always say to my salespeople, if you've got a prospect that won't help you move to the next stage, they're not a good prospect. Move on. Would you mind, I understand your goals, sir. Your goals are these 3 things. You're going to do this in the next 3 months. You're looking to save money per transaction. You're looking for a contract that's a little bit more favorable for you with support. Can I ask you, how to hit those goals for you? We're going to do that. I got a couple goals. One is, I want to do this, and I'd like to set up a demo. It's going to take you about 30 minutes. But I'd like to set up a demo, load some data, and I'd like to do that. Will you be willing to do that? Yes? No? No, I'm not. I'm not that interested. Okay, well, then move on. So take control of the sell. Leverage constructive tension. Challenger reps seek to leverage that tension to their advantage across all dimensions of the sell. I always tell people, if everybody gets along but nobody sells something, that's not that interesting to me. And I know that sounds harsh, but I would rather have us not get along and sell less stuff. So tension in, again, a professional way, tension in a useful, constructive way, tension showing dissatisfaction in selling something to somebody. You know, I'll never forget, years and years ago, they were selling fluid power, and I walked into Nabisco, and it was a big buyer at Nabisco, and I'm like, I finally got my minute with this person, because they got about millions of dollars from me a year. And I got to the desk, and I'm doing my spiel, I'm doing my thing, and this person just was not paying attention to me. You can just tell they were looking out the door, they were doing all this. And I just got about 2 or 3 minutes into it, and I said, Joe, no offense, but it seems like you're not really that interested, and you're kind of distracted right now. Should I just go away, or you want to reschedule this? Oh my God, he apologized 16 times over, and he said, yes, I am kind of distracted right now, can we reschedule? And I said, yes, and we rescheduled for the following week, and that guy was a customer for 3 years, bought a lot of stuff. But I just called out. I created tension. A relationship builder would have said, you know, oh gosh, we haven't that day, I'll just keep talking. No, but I think a challenger would say, hey, you know what, it doesn't seem like we're really connecting here. I'm doing a demo and you're not really into it. We have 5 interruptions. It's okay for you to tell me to go away. That's tension. Do it. It'll work. They'll apologize and get engaged, or they'll tell you, you know what, I'm really not that interested. Thank you so much. I always say race to know. Race to know. I always tell people when I'm selling nose games, oh, we're growing. Our numbers are so big, 20%. I got such great people. My product sells itself. You don't need me. We're good. Call me. Teach, tailor, take control. Challenger reps understand this cycle and do it on a regular basis. What is your personality style? Are you a dominant personality style? Are you conscientious? Are you a steady person? Are you inspirational? DISC, if you've heard of DISC, those are profiles. Know your style. Because if you're inspirational, big I, that's a big C. And you're talking to a very, very high C, conscientious, technical, detail-oriented person, they will either kill you, or you better get to some meat pretty quick. Because if you can't show me a spec sheet and outputs and like in about a minute, you're gone. So know your style, know the buyer style, and again, tailor for others. I'm almost done. The power of insight in this book, they came up with 50 attributes that they tested for buyer loyalty. This is how to overcome resistance. You guys get this all the time. So we're looking for loyalty, we're trying to overcome resistance. Here are the top 5 insights in buying systems. They want their reps to offer unique and valuable perspectives on the market. Because as nervous or unsure or fearful as you are about selling in your market, they are that way about the stuff you're selling. They want to make sure that they're not left behind. They want to make sure that somebody doesn't pivot, some organization, some competitor, doesn't pivot on them and go to big iPhones with touchscreens. You've got to be able to tell them 32% have done that over the last year. It looks like they're going at a pace about 12 a year. and it's going that direction, and I've got a solution, or whatever it might be. The rep offers unique, valuable perspectives. Otherwise, I don't know what you're doing there. Rep helps me navigate the alternatives. I love this. I don't know how many of you are comfortable enough to do this, but I think one of the best sales techniques that you can use, if there is a technique about it, and that is to take your product and talk about the other two products. And say, you know what? These guys are really strong in this area. They do this really well. These guys, they're really good at this. I think we're just as good in those areas, but I think we have a thing that they don't. That's called trust, man. They start to believe you. And they should, because you know what you're talking about. If not, then you gotta find a way to find that differentiating factor for what it is that you're selling. Help them navigate alternatives. Salespeople say their reps, the good reps, provide ongoing advice and consultation. They help them avoid potential landmines or big problems. And they educate. See, all these are around education, teaching, helping them establish a relationship through what they're learning. What's one of the, depending on the research, top 2 or 3 things why people stay in an organization? It's not money. One of them is they trust and respect like their leader. Always in the top 3, why people stay. I learned so much here. I learned so much here. That's why they stay. That's why people buy. So if you're a leader, if you're a salesperson, help people learn new stuff. You learn it, apply it, test it. Each speaks directly to an urgent need of the customer, not to buy something, but to learn something. I honestly, when I'm selling, I'll tell people, whether you buy or not is up to you. I can only help you try to understand your options, what's in the market, what our product or service does. But, you're going to have to make that final decision. I can help you with next steps. That's the way I sell. I tell my people, God, please don't ever need a sell. Because I think when you need a sell, you're kind of dust. So are you selling price or are you selling God? If you sense that your conversations are dominant over here, and here's like features, advantages, features kind of conversation. Oh, we've got 32,000 bits of this and 16,000 of that and all that stuff. Over here, well, in your particular business, you have 6 units. You have 12 people working. So you have people working on 2 different terminals. You got so many customers per hour. Your transactions are about this. I think you could probably save about, 30 seconds per transaction or whatever it is, or make some money per transaction. I think you're calculating that out. It's something like about $3,000 a month of value that we're going to bring to whatever it is you're doing. You do that in one breath in 30 seconds, because you can. Or they can go to some guy who's talking about, I got a really cheap unit. I know, it's not easy. So, recap. Process trumps technique. You can have average people in a really good selling process and it'll be good. You can have average people do bookkeeping and an accounting system and it'll be okay. Most of the time. Strategic architecture, you're thinking about who is your target, so you understand how you supply what you supply, why you supply it, who you supply it to. Understand your strategic architecture. Put it on the wall. And when it changes, change it. Put the new one on the wall. What do you sell? How do you supply it? Who buys it? Why do they buy it from you? That's going to change over time. Timing is everything in B2B sales. Assuming you're good at what you do, you know how to supply, price, quote, close, support, all that neat stuff. Timing is everything. I believe that sales can be a competitive differentiating process. If your sales system is better than anyone's in the market and you're competing, that would be a bad situation. If your selling system was the best, you don't even have to be a great salesperson. If your selling system was the best in the market, your sales would go up. Keep score. Get on that whiteboard, list 31 days, how many calls, completed calls, meetings, proposals, demos, whatever it is that you keep track of. 16, 6, 3, that's how long it takes every day. Just like that. And at the end of the month, you add them all up and you put them somewhere on the whiteboard up there. It says January, you just put the total. And then you put up February, and you put up March. Think strategically, pick your customers. Don't let them pick you. You pick them. 5 C's. Curiosity, credibility, conditioning, commitment, cultivate. Get commitment to take action. Get commitment of time. 15 seconds, curiosity. Build credibility, staccato, short questions, 4-6 things. Then condition. Profile buying systems. Understand your buyer types, tailor your message to that market, to that buyer type, to that kind of store. Profile the buying systems, understand who's involved, how they get involved, what's the process look like to buy. Don't ask, are you the decision maker? And then be a challenger. Teach, tailor, and take control. Thank you, guys.
Mark will stay around. He's going to be with us tonight on the boat. If you have any questions about your particular situation, he might have some ideas for you. He'll be here in the morning. Great day today. You know, still got some